There we go. Okay. Oops. I can see it. Sorry. Okay, so we're ready to go. Okay, you should have two handouts. Yeah, one is got the general the sessions, and the second one you have to share. That's the idea. It's an exercise in sharing already between husband and wife. And the sessions covered. As it says over here, number one, which is today's session, is a happy wife. Yeah, how to make sure your wife is happy all the time. Okay, and the second one is how to make sure your husband, woman needs to know how to make her husband happy. And the next four are all about communication. I just want to say that the background to this seminar, we've been doing it now 10 years, and it's based on a lot of other seminars, but we've taken the main essential points, the absolutely, the ones that are really the ones that make a difference, that are usually the differences between husbands and wives, and the differences between men and women, and the things that we found have made a really big difference in a marriage. And it's very simple. We're not going to do anything complicated, but actually practicing it, that's another story. Okay, so we have to. It's a guarantee that if we do it, it works. Okay, or you get your money back. Okay? Or you try again. That's the answer. So the sessions of communication we'll see as we go along. Some of the ideas we're going to try and revisit them and go over them again and again, so we get familiar with them. But you'll see that communications 1 and 2 basically is about language, how men and women speak different languages, even though they both call them English, right? And the words are the same words, but they mean different things. It would be the same thing if you're speaking in Hebrew or French or Chinese or anything else. And that's number 1. Number 2 is how we use words differently in the way that we communicate between men and women. And then number 5, which people mentioned before, how to have a good fight. Arguments is a very much a normal thing in a relationship, and our point here, our approach to this is actually it's a good thing, it's healthy, and it's good to teach the kids how to solve problems. When they see their parents how they deal with their problems, they get those life skills. And if you don't give them those life skills, then an argument turns into something terrible, which it doesn't really have to. It's quite correct that people can have different opinions. And if it's not like that because somebody's so holy like certain rabbis and their wives, that breaks the norm. That's special. That's angelic. That's for prophecy, prophets, and people of HaKodesh. Okay? And the last thing is how to balance a marriage we've got here with children. The truth is, more importantly than that, we get there, we'll see what we'll do, but there's another session. Kids is very important, but it comes sometimes later on. The intimacy is very important, and we've got another session on intimacy, depending which group it is and how religious it is and who's there. So I choose on how to do that one. But actually, intimacy should be number 6 because it actually is. There's 4 sessions on communication. The skills are 1 and 2, and then how to have a good fight. And the next one is actually intimacy, which is communication. And it's sometimes misunderstood because of men and women and how they see it in different ways, and therefore it's misunderstood. But it's very important in terms of, say, counselling and marriage guidance that actually intimacy is a form of communication, and that should not be forgotten. Okay, so we're going to make a start. Now, there's a bit, if anyone's American over here, I know somebody is, yeah, there's a little bit of American slant to this because one of the rabbis that I took most of based this on is American, and it was made for the American market. When I was working with Aish as a rabbi, he sort of veered off and ventured and started the whole organization, which is very successful. And I built, at the time when I started it was very much based on the idea because he did such a great job. It's Rabbi Aryeh Pomensky is his name, you can Google him. And he did such a great job in isolating the key factors that a lot of the ideas are shared ideas, or they're his ideas even, I should say. So it sounds a little bit American, that's the point. Now, session 1 is how to make the wife happy. How do we make the wife happy? Okay. Now, from a Torah perspective, because Baruch Hashem everyone here, you can see is observant. From a Torah perspective, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the man and woman different, intentionally. They were not supposed to be the same. They're different. And if they're different, that doesn't mean that, men and women are different, and that's it, end of story. We're never going to understand each other. On the contrary, it says that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Adam and Chava, it says, Achor v'kedim sartani. He created them a back and a front. The same person, the same entity. It was called Adam. The word Adam doesn't have a female side to it. Right? So therefore, Adam is a man and woman together. It's a hybrid. That's what Adam means. And it was before they were separated, he was already called Adam, and she was part of him. They were the same body, they had the same guf. Yeah, the Kodesh Baruch Hu then separated them. So the Gemara asks, what's the point? Actually, the Fashion, the Ramban says, what's the point of creating them together only to go and separate them afterwards? And he says, in order they should be able to give to each other. Because if we're in the same body, you don't say to yourself, right, Mr. Right Hand, can you pass the fork to the left hand? Oh, thank you, Mr. Right Hand. It's the same body, it's not necessary. So there's no feeling, no sense of giving. It becomes lost when it's in the same person. So although the soul is the same soul, as the Zohar says, a husband and wife are the same soul, but they come down in different bodies so that they should be able to learn how to give to the other. And giving is, in the words of the Ramban, actually is only a kind of a metaphor. When he says giving, it doesn't literally mean like, to give something. I mean, it means that as well. But we know the Ramban wrote another Igeret. He wrote a number of letters. One treatise he wrote was to his son. And another one which he wrote, which is called the Igeret HaYichud, where he talks about the very intimate aspects of marriage. And Chatanim sometimes are supposed to learn that. But it's written from many hundreds of years ago, so it's difficult. So, for example, in Ponevezh Yeshiva, there was a Rav Chaim Friedland, the Rav Shami, wrote a commentary on this Ramban. And all the boys that got married would learn it, but privately. It's not something which is published in the shops. And the whole contrast, the whole pamphlet is based on this concept that a man has to learn what his wife needs so he can give it to her, and vice versa. We'll see the onus is on the man, and we'll see why as we go along. But the point is that it's not natural to know. You're not born knowing. Man comes away completely oblivious to even understand what he's supposed to do. We don't learn about it in school, we don't learn about it in yeshiva enough. Yeah? So it's very important to try and understand that there are major differences between a man and a woman, which is part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's design of the man and the woman. So if the man asks himself, how can I make my wife happy? How am I going to do it? I don't naturally know what to do, right? And there isn't a book that you go and buy. So hopefully you come to the Marriages Bliss seminar and it will help us to get started with it. So this is the American bit now. Yeah, we're going to have to memorize this because we're going to come back to this all the time. But it's so good because it's very simple. It's like a little song. And when we familiarize ourselves with this mantra, this song, then we also remember to actually practice it. And I'm speaking now mainly to the men in the room. Okay? And when today you can nod from now to the next hour. Just keep on nodding. That's your job. Yeah? Just confirm that that's exactly right. Okay? And then next week you'll be the other way around. Please God. So it says like this, men and women are different. Okay, so men and women are what? Different. How different? Very different. I don't mind if you look at the paper, you can cheat. Okay? They're very, very different. Why? The reason is because women are relationship beings. You speak English, yeah? Or you prefer you're Israeli?
Yeah, I'm Israeli.
Okay, the English is good. Perfect, yeah.
Sometimes I pretend not to.
Well, it suits you. So, men and women are different. How different? Very different. Why? Because women are relationship beings. Okay? They're relationship means everything. If I asked you, let's stop for a second. What's the difference between a man and a woman? Who can tell me? Don't have to answer if you don't want to, but who would suggest what? If we make a list of differences, obvious differences, apart from the fact that, they have different features. I mean, leaving all that, the physical stuff aside. What else is different about a man and a woman? Generalizing. Can anyone tell me? Multitasking, that's the one they always say. Women can multitask, they can do 6 things at once. Yeah, I was just talking to someone about it today. She's sitting Shiva on Alena, and she was saying that her husband is trying to do the washing up and then the dishwasher and everything. He got to working out the 3 different parts, the compartments of the washing machine. But he didn't understand what the third one was for after he worked out the other 2. And then his daughter came back from Israel and said, how comes there's clothes all over there? Just tell me about this morning. Anyway, it's typical, we're generalising, but women can multitask, and men will generally tend to start one job, finish that job, start another job. And if they try to do it simultaneously, they'll find themselves jumping from one to the other and feeling very out of sync, yeah, generally. So all these are generalisations, but it's good to have generalisations because most of us fit into those generalisations, and we're not trying to be politically correct over here. We're trying to have happy marriages. So if it works for 90% of the people, let's also apply it to ourselves and have a happy marriage. That's the idea of this. Okay. Now women are multitasking, yeah, and one of the reasons you can offer in the scientific way of looking at it is because she has to have a baby, and she's got to have a baby. She's got to look after the baby and still do everything else. Okay, and men will fall apart. Try and go to work and look after a baby. How many men can do it? They either stay at home or they go to work. Can't do both. They're 2 different worlds. right? I come home, I'll be the daddy. When I go to work, I'm the businessman. You know, it's very hard to do both. Yeah, but women can do both. I'll tell you more than that. Around the year 2000, when John Major was the Prime Minister, his daughter was very well known in the feminist movement, and she got up at the age of around in her 30s, and she said, "They stole my life from me. So I just want to have a baby and be a mother," right? And the point I would suggest is that because if women have a career, that's fine. No one in the Torah to say a woman doesn't have to have a career. On the contrary, 2,000 years ago in the Gemara, it says if a woman brings money into the marriage and she brings a career, then it remains hers. It's outside of the rules of the normal ketuvah. So it recognises the importance of that. But she doesn't have to have a career if she doesn't want to. And if she doesn't have a career, it doesn't necessarily impact on her sense of success in life. Whereas if a man doesn't feel that he's doing what he wants to do, right? If he's either a rabbi, he's learning Torah, he's an avrech, or he's a professor, he's doing research, he's not making necessarily much money, right? Or he's a businessman, he's bringing money, or he's doing a career, you know, with his kids, yeah? Or he's simply a tzaddik and he feels that he's working on his righteousness. He doesn't have that kind of fulfillment that's coming from his job satisfaction, his career, and what he wants to do in life. He quite often not feel fulfilled. Yeah, and that's a problem. But as a woman doesn't necessarily have that. Yeah? So a man has to, in fact, today a study came out, an amazing study I haven't discussed with anyone else. They found that as soon as a person reaches $100,000 in America, they get 6 figures. I don't know if you heard this on the news today. Their lives, their happiness starts going down again. When they're going towards $100,000 a year, their lives get happier and happier and happier. As soon as they reach that figure, it starts falling because they're not happy anymore, right? And in that bracket, that annual payment bracket, it's like 70, 80, 90% men compared to the women. It's far more men than there are women in that bracket. And why is that? So one suggestion is because women can't be bothered, even though they want to spend money, let's say, if we generalise, but they can't be bothered in ruining their whole life forever and ever and ever to be in that very high income bracket. The husbands have it, fine, but you know they're not going to sacrifice, they're too clever to go and sacrifice their life and give up their happiness to have a bit more money. They want to have the money, but not the expense of actually going to have to invest every second of my day into it. So a man will absorb himself into it, and then he can't cope, he starts falling apart, and he can't be a good father, he can't be a good parent, and he can't do so much in his life and still get by. So just an interesting point. We'll come back to this. Men and women are different, how different, very different. Women are relationship beings, so one aspect is they multitask. What else? Did you know that most men in England, I'm sure in most countries, would prefer to have a female doctor as a GP than a male one? Did you know that? They prefer to have a female doctor, right? Because, why? It's like mummy. Women generally are more sympathetic. Unless it's a girl. You know, when my daughter fell down and she off a chair, and she was about 6, I had to take her to accident emergency. The pain, every pain that she uttered was like pins and needles in me, right? Because she's a little girl, yeah. When my son fell off the chair, be a man. Be a man. It's alright. It's okay. You know, you'll get stronger. You know the joke. Baruch haba. Come, park yourself. Find a seat. A child stuck he climbs up to the top of the shelf and he says to his dad, "I'm stuck." So he says, "Come, jump. I'll carry you." He says, "No, I'm scared." He says, "Jump. I'll catch you. I'll catch you." And anyway, he jumps and he moves away and the boy gets hurt. He says, "No, you didn't catch me." He says, "That teach you a lesson. Never trust anyone." You never do that to a girl, right? But generally, a mother has far more sympathy. I know with my children, come in, you have to come in this way. Actually, you can open that door, it's not blocking anybody. Just pull it very hard. Just hard. Generally, when the children have pain or something, they'll run to mummy. "Oh, mummy, it hurts you." Right. Why? Because generally women are more sympathetic. And that's partly because women are more emotional. Everyone usually says that. I'm surprised no one said it yet. Women are usually far more emotional than men. And that's how HaKadosh Baruch Hu created them. They cry more, they're more fragile. Yeah, you have to be very careful what you say to the Gemara. Actually, I don't want to mention it now because it's quite severe. The Gemara, in very severe terms, talk about men that cause, even by accident, their wives to cry. It's a very terrible thing. It brings a very bad situation in a marriage. and it's harmful. Well, I'm not trying to threaten anyone, I'm just trying to say that the Gemara recognizes this. And the fact of the matter is, I can tell you that every woman in this room has or would have cried because of their husbands. Probably before marriage, right? Let alone after marriage. Yeah. And every man sees it and he doesn't know what to do about it, and it's normal. But we have to learn why it is and how to try and avoid it. But it's going to happen, and we're not going to understand. You know, a man was driving with his car in the car with his wife, and he says, you know, I've got to get my car fixed. The oil light's coming on. I've got to take it to the mechanic, and she's going on about something that happened, and she's tearful and she's very emotional about it. And her husband will just turn around and say, okay, so will you remind me to tell the mechanic? You know, and he's just not getting what's going on. He's not attuned to it. He just doesn't understand what the connection is. It's not every case, but that's quite typical. So women are relationship beings. Now, we could go on talking about all the differences. Of course, Baruch Hu created them to bring children in the world and to have those feelings, and the hormones also affect them when they're going through different parts of having a child. It's all the way Hashem made it. There's no question about it. But we're recognizing the differences. And what we're going to now say is because of those differences, that then creates a different dynamic in the relationship between the two, between the male and the female. And that's what we want to focus on. So all of that stuff that we're talking about now, and there's more to talk about, but just generally, we're calling that relationship being. The code word for it is relationship being. Okay? So women are relationship beings. There's a book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. So it says you shouldn't buy your wife any plants, only flowers. You know that? It says, you know why? The author says, if you buy your wife a plant, you're giving her a new relationship. She's got a baby to look after now. She's going to have to look after, and I know this was a lot of women that I've been around with, my mother or my wife. If that plant dies, she might cry. Or she might feel that she failed. She failed to let that life to carry, like, you know, I'm terrible with plants, I don't want, you know, I don't know what to do, and it's going to die because of me, and she's going to get all emotional about it because the plant died. And a man thinks, why should I buy flowers? They're dead. And they're going to watch them die even more, and they're going to shrivel up and put them in the bin, and they're going to make a mess, right? So buy a plant, it'll give you flowers, and they'll give you more flowers, and it's going to stay alive for longer. Yeah, so it makes more economics of scale. Economies of scale are much better. So why? That's what it says, and it's very truthful. So what's the point? The point is that a woman has a relationship with everything. Everything that she engages in the world, every time she leaves her house in the morning or even in her house, anyone she speaks to, everything that's going on in her life every day is a relationship. And therefore, we'll come back, we're going to move on with this. Every day when a man comes home, yeah, or whichever way around it is, but whenever he meets his wife, yeah, she's going to have issues, relationship issues. Everything is going to be a relationship issue. It could have been a woman in the shop, it could have been the woman next door, it could be the other mothers in the school, it could be her boss, it could be anybody. There's going to be something that hurt her sensitivities because she has a relationship with everything, and everything is connected. Okay, so at this point, I can see you engaged in this point. There's a chap called Mark Grunge. He's a pastor. So I don't agree with any of the Christian stuff that he talks about, but he's a very good educator. And but I have to tell you this because you can YouTube it. You know, I saw one of his presentations, which is absolutely fantastic. He has in the beginning, in the front on the stage, right, hundreds of people. He's got two models, one of a man and one of a woman. And he says, right, I'm going to talk to you about the man's brain. He says the man's brain is made up of lots of different boxes, right? They're all like shelved nicely on a filing cabinet. And every single box is separate to the other box. And none of the boxes touch each other. They've got nothing to do with each other. They're all separate, every single one of them. And if he wants to go to one of the boxes to get something, he'll go to that filing point, he'll take it out carefully, not touching any other boxes. He'll deal with what he has to do, put it back in, and neatly put it back on the shelf without touching the other boxes. And there's one box which has got nothing in it. And if he could ever choose which box he would want, it would be that nothing box, where he could sit down and do nothing for as long as he can. Right? If he could choose that box, that would always be the number one box to go to. That's the man's brain. Okay? Now, on the other hand, the female brain also has many, many boxes, and they all touch. And every time you touch any of the boxes, this is electricity goes through all the other boxes and everything becomes part of what's going on. That's how mind works, you know, in short. She's a relationship being. It's exactly the same point. A relationship being means everything is a relationship and affects everything else because everything is a relationship. Okay? So there's the famous example that you may have heard it if I ever spoke in your show. There's a man comes home from work, his wife says to him, can you change your light bulb? The light bulb theory. So he says, sure, my dear, I'll do it straight away. And he doesn't do it. The phone rings, life happens, and this goes on a few times. So she takes the bulb, she's looking, I don't want to climb up the steps of the step ladder, I don't feel comfortable on that. Here's the bulb, here's the step ladder, just, you know, my dear, my darling, straight away. Yeah, something happens, he goes up today, moves the step ladder out of the way, and he walks straight past and doesn't. Eventually she explodes, she says, you don't love me. You don't love me. If you loved me, you would have changed the light bulb. That light bulb represents our relationship. And if you really cared for me and knew how I felt, you would have changed the light bulb. And the man is like standing there, what are you talking about? How can our relationship, I went out with you and I bought you a wedding ring and I gave up so much for you and I got married to you and I chose you, and everything is represented by a 60p, £1 shop light bulb? How does that, what's the science of that? It doesn't work out. ABC doesn't add up. Yeah? But based on what we've said, it absolutely perfectly makes sense. Everything is a relationship. Everything that happens in our life is part of the relationship. Everything that goes on is, yes, he does, no, he doesn't. He loves me, he doesn't love me. It's all part of the relationship. So coming back to the introduction. Men and women are different. How different? Very different. What's the difference? Women are relationship beings. Okay. So if a woman is a relationship being and a man, then what's a man? He's not. That's the answer. He's not. Right? So when a relationship being is a man, is not. He's a knot. You've got relationship beings, part of the world, and you've got knots. You've got all these knots walking around. Now, of course, some men are more emotional than others. Yeah. And we're not talking about, I'm saying again, I'm making this disclaimer again, we're not saying every man is the same, everyone's the same, but saying in terms of relationship counselling, this is what's going on in most of the houses that, you know, that we have contact with. So it still applies to us, okay, in a generic sense. So if a man is a knot, what does he need in order to make his wife happy? He needs a job. He needs a job, okay? This has been set up in a reason, we'll see afterwards why it's set up this way. His job is what? To make his wife happy. When? All the time. Yeah, when? All the time. Always, non-stop, 24/7, right? You wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, make my wife happy. Go downstairs, have breakfast, make my wife happy. the postman, the letters come in and go and get, make my wife happy. Right, on the train, make my wife happy. Right, I'm in the office with all the pressures and everything, make my wife happy. It's an ongoing thing every day of our lives, and it never stops, okay? Because if we stop working at it, and naturally we don't know how to do it, if we don't teach ourselves and remind ourselves, then my wife will not be happy, right? I have to make it my job to make my wife happy. I'm going to decide, you know, I want to make my wife happy, okay? No matter what, whether she's wrong, she's done, I'm not, obviously, Baruch Hashem, we're talking about good families of you. We're not talking about here where there's an abuser in the relationship, which is, oh, then we're not talking about that case. Yeah, we have to take that out. This not for this course. Yeah, talking about regular couples. Yeah, there's a certain point in the marriage, right? Where in the first year of marriage, a husband will have to question, did I do the right thing? It's normal. They have to, and then by questioning it, then they come to the decision, right? Despite the things that I never knew. Right, and the snoring, and the window open and the window closed, and the leaving things around all over the place, and all these. Apart from all of that, I accept. I've accepted who I've married. Yeah? Now sometimes people struggle for a number of years until they get to that point, and in our generation, it's so easy to just give up. There's so many divorces around us; it's unbelievable. Yeah. So, but the thing is, we can make it work, and this is what we're going to be looking at. We don't go into Kosher Kingdom and say, I'm buying a ready-made wife, I'm buying a ready-made chatan, packaged and ready to go. Just press on and it will work. It doesn't work like that. We have to invest. Hashem wants us to invest. He created us different, so we'll learn what the other person needs and how they work, and then be able to do it. You understand? And if we don't, because it's not natural, we have to learn it. That's how it's meant to be. No one gets it naturally because we're different. Men and women are different. And we'll see how important that is, because sometimes, particularly women, their complaints and what they're trying to do, which most men will tell you if they've gone through life for a married life for a few years, my wife is trying to mold me. She's trying to mold me. She wants to try and make me into something that I'm not. That's one of the big resistances of men. Women have got their resistance. And when that happens, you know, it feels horrible for the man. We say to the woman, do you want your husband to be a woman or a man? You're trying to make him into you. Right? Don't have those expectations of him because he's not a woman, he's a man. Okay? It's okay, let's come back to what we're talking about. We'll come back to these other things. So, what's a man's job? He said if a man is not a relationship being, then he's a not. If he's a not, what does he need? And we say he needs a job. What's his job? To make his wife happy. So how do you make your wife happy? So we, with the help of great thinkers, the Rabbanim in this case, have found the answer. The answer is 3 A's. You do these 3 A's. It's just 3 things. That's all a man has to do. And thank God until now I've never had a woman that's disagreed with this. Yeah. If he does these 3 things, his wife will be happy all the time. It's a tall statement to make. Yeah. Is that easy? Because the problem with these things, if you tell a man that's all you have to do, it's like, no, come on. It can't just be that. There must be more to it. Right? Do you want to close the door? Imagine you've got a plant and you want the plant to live. Going back to the plant example, let's say you've got the plant. So in order for the plant to carry on living, you have to water it, you have to put it in the right temperature, the climatic conditions have to be correct, you've got to have even a certain amount of nutrients, have the right soil, otherwise the plant will die. Yeah? In a relationship between a man and a woman, if there aren't certain things that the man does for the wife, she will not be happy. That's what we're suggesting. So it's not just a shir that says, oh, I've got a really good idea, try this with your wife and try this. No, without it she can't be happy, because there are needs, there are personal needs that every woman needs to be functioning and feel like that she's, she's getting what she needs in life, the way Hashem made her. And these are the 3 A's. Okay, that if a woman has just these 3 A's, she will be the happiest woman in the whole world from her husband. So what are they? Attention, affection, and appreciation. Simple as that. Attention, affection, appreciation. So ask every woman in the room. If you had absolute attention, and I don't mean he's on his iPhone while he's talking to you, right? Absolute attention, affection, which isn't just about intimacy and physical contact, right? Real affection, the way women understand the word affection, yeah? And appreciation, when you do something, he knows that you did it, yeah? You don't need a big card or flowers, eh? Just know that he acknowledged that all the effort that you put in was used for a good thing. Wouldn't you be happy? It was, just with those 3 things, can you imagine being sad? Right? She actually had that. It's bliss. It's unbelievable to have that. Yeah? So it's worth doing it. So why don't the men do it? Because they don't know, because it's too hard. Because we forget. Okay, so I'm going to go home today and say, that's it. I'm going to do the attention, the affection, the appreciation. Rabbi, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make my wife happy. I guarantee next week, if we come back here and we ask you, did you do it? You'll say, hey, he tried. It was really good the first day. So why? Is it because a man doesn't want his wife to be happy? No, he wants her to be happy. Because we don't understand, we don't get it. We do not get it. And we're going to see, hopefully later on, we get to the other session. I'm going to keep on telling you things later on because it makes you want to come back and appreciate how important it is. In the later session, we're going to see that women assume so much about men. They just assume that we're going to know. And we don't know. We don't know half of what you think we know. Right? And the biggest proof is, Thursday night, go to Kosher Kingdom and just watch all the men with their shopping lists. Right? And every one of them is on the phone to his wife saying, did you say the green one or the blue one or the red one? Yeah, and he's going to come home with the wrong thing every week. Unbelievable. My dad is married 52 years, he's still the same thing. Every time I was like, you came with this one, I told you that one. That's how it is. Yeah. And every man will tell you, my wife, she nags me. She nags me. My nagging wife. No wife wants to be the nagging wife, right? And the wife says, I told him 1,000 times and he didn't get it. I have to tell him again and again like a little boy. He just doesn't get it. It's a baby. So later on we're going to have a session of communication. We're going to say to your wife, to the wives, you can tell your husband something the first time and you will get it. You just don't know naturally how to do it, right? You don't naturally how to do it because it's not your fault. It's just we just do what we do naturally and we don't understand what it's doing. What the other person is receiving, what's being transmitted and what's being received are two different things. Yeah, I could go into examples about it. We'll leave it for later because that's the point. Okay, so again, men and women are different. How different? Very different. We'll give you some examples now. Why? Because women are relationship beings and men are not. If they're not, what do they need? A job. What's a job? To make your wife happy all the time. All the time. How do you do it? Attention, affection, appreciation. So for the rest of today, we're just going to be looking at attention, affection, and appreciation. Okay? 3 tools for attention. Number one, undivided attention. Okay? In fact, that's going to be the homework for the men today. To learn to look at your wives in their eyes and stare at them for 2 minutes. Gonna do it, go home. Today, tomorrow, whenever, during the week, till we meet next time, please God, right? You have to do this. If you join the course, it will work. You don't understand. I'm speaking to the men now. It's so easy to do it, and we don't do it. It's so easy. I'm telling you, it's so easy, and we just don't do it. It's not rocket science at all. I did a session once with about 20 men, and then my wife came with me. We did it with their wives, 20 wives, yeah, something like that, maybe 30 even. And the point that we're discussing was a bit of a private point, and what had come out in one of the sessions was, we're discussing with the men, I said, look, if you do the washing up occasionally, now I don't do this, I try to do it, but my mod, it's wrong, but I think if I do it every time it won't be appreciated, so I'll do it once in a while and it'll be appreciated, right? That's my excuse. But the fact of the matter is this, is that if you do the washing up, your wife is going to be in a different type of mood. Okay, so my argument was to the men, was, you're complaining she's not very available emotionally, there's no intimacy, go do the washing up and see what will happen, right? Like, what, you crazy? What, because I'm going to do the washing up, it's going to change her mood? So in front of the women, my wife over there, we asked the women, said, if your husband did the washing up, and you knew that he was doing it because he wanted to spend time with you afterwards, how would you feel about that? He said, fantastic, right? Because the men don't understand this point. A woman's under pressure, and she's got rotas and kids and things which are not important that she doesn't really enjoy doing. She doesn't say, right, oh, I love doing the washing up, I love cleaning, I love arranging all the rotas and getting everything in the right place and the kids all ready and everything in the morning. And you go off to work and think you're the big man, you're doing a big thing, bringing big money into the house, right? At the end of the day, she's doing all this work, right? It can be reverse roles, but on this point, when she's under pressure and she's a relationship being, the pressure is an explosion point. Now, if her husband will go and do the washing up, what he's doing is getting into her mind, he's getting into her world, and he's showing her that he understands what she's going through. And it now becomes a relationship issue. It's not just the washing up. You understand me. You understand that you're taking the pressure, like it's all coming out. I really feel connected to you. Oh, you really understand me. Everyone wants to be understood. That's a big thing for a woman, to be understood, right? So now she feels understood. So it will affect her mood. Now, there's no way a man would know that, scientifically. Unless you do it and ask your wife, is it true? And she says to you, yes, it's true. If you do the washing up, I will be in a different mood. I'll be emotionally available in a different way, because it affects me in that way. It's only an example, and it might be a bit exaggerated. But everyone in that room agreed that it was that the man should do it, because the man will often think, you know what, it's so contrived. It's like a trick. I want something from her, so I'm going to go and do the washing up and I'll get a good result, right? That's how the man thinks. Everything is a cause and an effect and it's a result. It's like an equation. But it's much more complex than that. Okay, it's much more complex. So we'll come back to it and talk about the 3 A's, attention. Undivided attention really means that I'm giving all my attention to my wife. Now, we all know, or we'll find out, that if you're talking to your wife on the phone, she knows if you're paying attention. She knows if you're doing something else. She's got a sixth sense that she can say, you're not paying attention. Can't see you, but she knows, right? Women are very, very attuned, very synchronized with what's going on. And so therefore undivided attention really means that I'm going to give less attention. I can't cheat. I can't space out and think about something else. My mind can't be in my Gemara, I wish, or the other problem that I've got, my client. Say, look, you know what, I'm going to make her feel really good, but I can't go through this, so I'm going to space out and think of something else, right? Right, it won't work. She knows, you're not paying attention, okay? Undivided attention means that I'm actually going to give attention, right? So that's number one, is understanding that in attention there's a concept of undivided attention. Undivided attention means all of my attention in a way that she feels that you're paying attention. Look, my wife suffers with this. After all these years of teaching a seminar, even, and knowing this, it's very hard. I'm a very hyperactive type of person. I find it hard to just concentrate on one thing. But I know my wife needs it. She needs it. It's like a plant needs water. She needs that attention. And the funny thing is, if a man gives a wife his attention, she needs it less. We'll see why in a second. And everything we say is in the open because there's no tricks over here. This is the nature of what we found out. So the best way, number two, the best way to apply this undivided attention, I'm give you a model. It might work for you, it might not be exactly the right thing for you, but the idea will always be the same idea. It was actually the Rosh Yeshiva of Noch Weinberg. He said, look, when a man, I'm going to use an example of the man coming home from work. Okay, man comes home from work. Usually he'll walk into the house. What's he want to go and do? It could be the wife walked in and it would just be reverse roles, but say the man walks into the house. He's so happy to be home. I've come back to my fortress. I've come back to my cave. Just, get my shoes off, sit down on my couch, just take a beer, drink. The man's dream is that he's going to walk into, he's going to park the car and there's going to be a red carpet. And his wife's going to be standing there with a cup of tea and a croissant. He's going to say, my dear, I've been thinking about you all day long. The highlight of my day is when you walk in. Let me serve you. Let me massage your feet. Come and sit down. I'm just here. I'm your Ezer Kinektor. Hashem. My whole life is only revolving around it. Wouldn't a man be happy if he could have that every day? Wow. Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you that you have to do the complete opposite of that. You listening, man? I'll tell you, you have to do the complete opposite of that. You say, I haven't come home yet. I haven't come home yet. If you're not ready to face going into I call my house the Nissim Zoo, right? If you're not ready to go in there, then sit in your car for another 5 minutes and get ready, okay? But when you engage the family, there's a number of very important principles that will work, which are very important. Number one is that mummy is number one. And I have to show my kids, mummies, get a hug to my kids, say, I have to speak to mummy, I'll speak to you in a minute. Right? They have to know that. And then the first 20 minutes are her 20 minutes. Okay? This is the opportune place to put the 20 minutes, but it could be, for argument's sake, at another time of the evening. But the argument here, which came from very wise people, is that a woman needs 20 minutes every day of attention. 20 minutes. So I come home, these are her 20 minutes. I do this every day, I shouldn't say this, but it worked. I'm telling you, it works when you do it. It works, it's unbelievable how well it works. It's worth making less money at work, and maybe even questioning whether you should, your shul and shurim and everything else that's important in life, because your Harav bite supersedes all of that. And if you have a happy wife, you'll have far more years and years of learning and time to do the things that you want to do if you get this right. His wife and him, they died just a very small time lapse between each other. And he was abnormal in the sense that when in her funeral, she died just before him, he said, I don't need to ask my wife for any mechila because we never ever had an argument in our entire lives. And that's really, never heard of. Never heard of. I mean, they lived today, his children are all the Gedolim of Gedolei Hador, Rabbanim of Beit Dins, every city in Israel, in the Ashkenazi world. They're the greatest, the highest authorities. And every day when he'd come home, his students would see him adjusting his tie, looking his best, right? Because he said, I'm going to greet my wife, the Shekhinah. He did that every day of his life, till he died, till she died before him. So if he could do it, and he was a very busy man. He had not an extra second, but he still, the time I come home to my wife, that's the time I'm going to see my wife. That's a very important time. So the Rosh Hashiva age said 20 minutes. 20 minutes means that they are her 20 minutes. If she wants me to stand there and she's going to give me a whole episode of what happened in the shop with the lady and whatever mother-in-law said and this one said and that one said, whatever she wants to do with those 20 minutes, they're her 20 minutes. She wants me to help with the kids, she wants to get the table ready. If she wants to give me a free pass and say, today I don't need the 20 minutes to do what you want, then it doesn't matter. Okay, so at this point, the men are thinking, 20 minutes, can I do 20? I can manage 20 minutes. But what happens if it becomes 21 minutes? What am I going to do? Right? What are we going to do? Time it, right? So the truth is, obviously, a man's coming home, he's also tired. Yeah, but it's worth investing these 20 minutes, okay? If we get to the point where it's too much, it's very, very simple. Say to your wife, look, I really want to hear what you have to say. It is important to me, but I'm beginning to turn off, and I'm tired, and I'm full. I can't take any more. My belly's full with all the information, right? So maybe we could just take a break over here, and maybe later we'll carry on, or tomorrow we'll carry on. If the woman knows, and this is problem solving, this is a huge issue for women. If a woman knows a problem is going to be dealt with, she can turn off.
But is it the next day 40 minutes?
That's half a football match.
On your honeymoon, yeah. Yeah. There's so much to talk about. We'll cover. Please God, each aspect of each, little offset, offshore, fruits, side point. We'll all come to them, right? But we'll try and stick to the path, yeah. Because you're opening up a whole other world with that. But what's important, what we're saying over here, is if a woman has these 20 minutes, they're for her. They're not for any other reason other than if we recognize that she's a relationship being, Hashem made her that way, then she needs to have 20 minutes with her husband, not with anybody else, but with her husband. Yeah? And after 20 minutes, if it's still not enough, I'm going to say to her, look, I would love, I really want to carry on, but I can't now. Maybe we'll carry on later on, or tomorrow, or for a walk later, or alavai. Yeah, it probably won't happen. But she knows that tomorrow he's going to be doing this again, and the day after, and the day after, the day after, so it's fine. It's not like, I need to catch him, I've got to run after him, I've got to sit him down.
The kids also, right?
Kids or no kids, 20 minutes, she needs to feel that they're her. She might tell you, go and give the kids a bath in those 20 minutes. So for her, she's killing she's one thing less that she has to do. But she knows that you're giving her the attention, not the kid. Because she told you to do that. Yeah, because men have to come up with these great ideas that make the wives work twice as hard. I'll go and cook a meal. It's like, we've got a box in our kitchen with all the cutlery which I traced up, right? So they always ask me, is it kosher or is it not kosher, because I'm the rabbi, but I'm the one that made the treif. But the point is that it doesn't matter what you do as long as what she wants, right? That's the great idea over here. Okay. There's a story over here, but I'm not going to do it. Just remember the story. Okay, we're going to jump a bit more than so. If you give them on these 20 minutes, and there is an issue of balancing it, balancing it as well. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Attention is important for a woman. Let me explain to you why. Let's say a man comes home and he gets out of his car. He's like, oh, what a day. Oh, what a day. Oh, please, make me a coffee, please. And he sits down and he wants all the sympathy like his mother used to give him and pampering and everything. I can't move. I'm so tired. Oh, you don't know what I went through today. Right? And she's probably thinking about, she's too polite to say, you went through, what happened with the kids and what shopping and she's had probably 20 times as much pressure than he's under, right? And he can't move. And she's like, okay, my dear, here, have a drink, look out, yeah? And then suddenly the phone rings, and it's his boss, or it's a friend, and he's like, sure, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Suddenly he got all his energy back, and he's got. How would the woman feel in that situation, right? It's like everyone else is important except me. that's the concept of the attention that we're talking about. She needs to feel that she's number one, right? And that this is more important, because what it basically means is that other thing that he has to, my boss, you know, or it's my brother is in trouble, or somebody's broken down. Yeah, but the energy and the enthusiasm that he suddenly got from nowhere, which he didn't come home with for her, makes her feel that she's not number one, right? So our job to make our wives happy with regards to attention is to make her feel that I'm interested and I want to spend those 20 minutes and that time with her because I love her. Yeah, and if I don't do that, I've failed in the attention. Does that make sense? That's my goal, right? I think to men again, if we do this, we have the happiest lives. If we don't do it, then either we suffer, and your wife suffers, which is anyway forbidden from the Torah, and eventually, at some point in the future, I'm going to wake up and realize, just make her happy. Why did I get married? To make her sad? Why did I get married to my wife? What was the point of it? To look after, make her happy. So why am I not doing it? I'm coming home every day, but she did that to me and that's not fair. It's principle, yeah? She has to learn the point I want to make, you know? No, it's all nonsense. Okay. The last thing in attention is it's important to take her call, right? If you're at work or she's calling you from work, right? At least once a day, if possible. We're not talking about over here that this is how you show her attention. It's just that if she can't get hold of you, she feels that you're not thinking about her. That she's not important, she's not in your head. And she needs to check if she's in your head. She might even not realize that she's doing it, okay? But she'll call you to see, is he going to take my call? Right? Am I important? You know, there's a story of a man, and a huge business, multi-million-dollar deal it was. And the guy comes in his office to finalize the deal, and he said, I'm really sorry, can you just wait a second? He goes, right, so you want 2 blue top milks and cheese, and he's going on, inviting it all down, and he says, I'll get this on my way home. And the man's sitting over there waiting to sign off this big deal, and he's taking a shopping list from his wife, you know, and then he puts the phone down. And you'd think the man would turn around and say, what, I'm more important than all of that. He says, I'm so impressed. I understand that your wife is important to you. You understand? It's a simple idea, but we need to think in those terms. Yeah. And so one way of doing that is to take the call, because quite often a man says, secretary, my wife calls, I'm not available, or blah, blah, who knows what. Yeah? And the bottom line is that the more you don't take a call, the more she'll call. Right? And once she knows, yeah, because we see later on it's also important for the affection to actually call her. But now we're not talking about that. We're saying if a woman is calling and she's your wife and she can't get through to you, it's unreasonable she's going to do it 10 times a day. That's not, you can't get any work done. Can't do whatever you're supposed to do. But if she's going to call you the whole day and not get through to you, that's unacceptable. Yeah? So it needs to be that we take the call. No one will be offended by it, and it's not something which is important, it's very important. Okay. So that's it, easy, attention. The main thing is the undivided attention, and to give them 20 minutes every day. Try it. Try it in the next week, and you see if it works or doesn't work. Because it does work, it really works. Okay, the other 2 things. Affection. Affection, there's basically 4 different aspects. How to show my wife affection. Again, the idea of this is that a woman has certain natural needs, like a plant needs to grow. One of them was attention, the other one is affection. How can we be affectionate to our wives? So one of the things is touch. Touch, unless a person, chas v'shalom, had something happen to them, you know, in terms of abuse or something, God forbid, it's normal for a wife to be very affectionate, more than a man. Sometimes men are very affectionate as well. It's very common, but affection, what's important in the context of what we're saying, does not mean anything necessarily intimate, of a sexual nature, let's say.